For those who competed decades ago, speeding down highways, through towns, country roads. For those who sat watching on the sides of the street, who found solace in chaos and thunderous speed. Even for those who grew up without the sights and the sounds, and live without race cars shaking the ground. Who don't understand why racing appeals to our fascination, wonder, and the way that we feel. A purpose-built place to camp and spend time with friends, watching racing together until darkness descends. Though no longer do the streets rumble and roar, there's a place just for this, a park to explore.
A road racing circuit before the assault. The 4 twisting, beautiful miles at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For 6 brutal, ear-shattering hours, its serenity will be violated by the raw power of screaming racing machines. It's the famed end-of-season endurance classic, the Road America 500. The specially constructed race circuit at Elkhart Lake at normal speed is a scenic 4-mile drive through fall-tinted Wisconsin countryside.
Hidden by forests near Elkhart Lake, not a path nor a trail, but a road meant to race. In a town too quiet, a refuge we seek. Road America, the racetrack, the national park of speed.
See it's getting darker and darker, and there's just no way right now for these drivers to know exactly what's going to happen.
These guys are going to have to be really, really careful and tiptoe around the track until it's either stuck. And not even 10 minutes into this race, and I feel like we've got enough strategy going on for a whole event, but still a long, long way to go.
There's Yellowstone, there's Yosemite, but for racing fans and for Grid Life's Elkhart Classic, the destination is Road America, the national park of speed.
Free ride in the front of the field here. Look at Emil Tab up the inside for the race lead. We head down to the first one.
Have no idea what they're coming into. Look at this field. They're 2 wide, 3 wide, a couple places slipping.
Side by side for the race lead. 54, 48 through 3 and 4. Working lap number 60, 110 laps to go. Yusuf Ghali, power move to the bottom of the racetrack, making the short way work. They're going to touch down the hill. This will be a great run for Fuller here.
Yes, if we go right off the track in the final quarter, that'll have Fuller get a massive.
Here he comes.
Does he have a look?
Oh, big block here by Sanfilippo. Into the grass goes Ben Fuller for turn 1. And Sanfilippo hangs on. He's loose. No! And he crashes hard in the exit of turn number 2. Don't try here, boys. They're going to do it. Gritsko backs out. They touch. They're going to crash. Gritsko going to slam the attenuator hard into the wall. And Jared Testa hits him as well. And big damage on these cars. Huge.
Number 4, people are struggling for grip, going out of every single lane, trying to then run. It's getting really insane.
Powered by AWS for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli at the Indianapolis 8-hour. We are 7 hours and 18 minutes into this 8-hour event. John Miller way deep on the brakes to the inside of turn number 1 and 2. The spin, the 3 car gets turned around in the front of the car. James Howden looking for a place to go, but he's got Austin Cobb to the inside. Into the gap behind, and think that's about 15th or 16th spot as they come out of turn 3. Big slide for this. Getting a run. He's got it. Going to be a drag racing line. Final corner. Checkered flag waving. Here they come. At Virginia National Raceway. To the line. Thompson, Darling, door to door, banging doors, fender to fender. I can't believe what we just saw.
America has many great road courses, but one track in particular that no matter the car or track combination we've come to, puts on a better show than Road America. We're here tonight for some GT3 action around this fantastic racing facility. My name is Finny Kuna with Connor Horn tonight. Connor, glad to have you with me as always.
Excited to be here. Not my forte, road course racing. I could do it in a stock car, but I'm not very good in a GT3 car, but it's still great racing to watch regardless of what the series is, and it should be a blast on one of the best road courses in America, without a doubt.
Indeed, we'll go quickly through your track map here. You come flying down across the start-finish line, heading down into turn number 1. It's going to be a very big passing opportunity for a lot of these guys here. Then through a little kink through turn 2, then through turn 3, and onto a middle straightaway, heading on to turn 5. Arguably one of the best passing opportunities. These guys go flying downhill into a hard left-hander. Then up through turns 6 and 7, got to be careful, tiptoeing your way through that section of track. Then to turn 8, and then to the carousel, Connor.
Carousel is very difficult to drive perfectly, easy to overdrive, it's very flat. You got to be very careful getting back on the power to get out of turn 10, and got to be careful for the kink in turn 11. We see a lot of drivers get caught out in that kink, go too far, hit that left side wall, and then you got to go for the long drive, not a big straightaway, but still somewhat of a passing zone going down into Canada corner.
And with that, it's going to complete a lap here at Road America. We currently have qualifying underway for these drivers. A few of them have already laid down some times as well. We'll cut back to that in just a little bit. And again, we're here at Road America for the next round for the Washington DC region SCCA for their GT3 series. They're running both GT3s and as well as an MX-5 and Mustang series in tandem throughout this season for this group of drivers. We'll cut down to track as well, and on the top of the boards, not too much of a surprise, Miguel Sandrini leading the timesheets.
Not very surprising at all. He's usually always someone, doesn't matter what he's driving. If it's a road course, he's at the top of the leaderboard, and no different right now. In an AlphaTauri, paid him on an Audi, kind of criminal, but you got to make do with what you got, and he's making it look sharp, going really well, very fast around this track. He's going to pull in, stop on the track, and try to go up for another run as Ken Husel is really trying to get everything out of that Lamborghini.
Yeah, Ken Husel has been a fantastic driver. He's been constantly, it seems like he's almost constantly trying to chase down Alisson Durini in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, has also beat the 61 car, so we'll see if he can do it again in a different machine, a Lamborghini Huracan. That's another thing I want to point out as well. Got quite a decent amount of manufacturer diversity. Every single one of the 7 eligible GT3 cars is out on track, and that is including the Ford GT. And this is not the new one, the GTE car, that beautiful car. This is the slightly older car. I'm trying to find where's Andrew Pilata? There he is. There's the old Ford GT that came out in the early 2000s. And this thing never was quite exactly a GT3 car. Essentially, iRacing took the GT2 car that they actually scanned, gave it some BOP call and called it a GT3 car. So that's why it's out here on track. Pilata, the sole driver in that machine, doing it pretty well, up in 4th at the moment of the 8 guys that have been able to put down a time.
Able to get through that kink there. He's actually towing 2 or 3 people along with him as he's trying to get a good run into Canada corner. Like you said, they kind of just scanned one car and made it into another. Nothing. Obviously, iRacing likes half-assing it a bunch of the time, but it's still a really cool car to look at. It's nice to see him wheeling it around these corners. He's making it look really fast.
And Elias Roman also in the Mercedes, which for a long time was one of the de facto cars to go to. But for Roman, the only Mercedes in the entire field, for the most part, I think it seems to be the Audi is the car of choice for most of the driver. 4 of them scattered throughout the field, still waiting on a majority of them to put down a time. As these guys come up and flying over the start-finish line. It's about 6 minutes remaining in qualifying for these guys. Got a time for Roman, who are on board with, going to be up into 7th place. Looking to see anyone else. Also, Morgan Burkhart in Lamborghini Huracan doing pretty well, up in 3rd at the moment. Haven't seen him before. Maybe I have. It might have been a while ago, but he's doing pretty well against some of the normal drivers that I've seen in this series. So pretty well up into 3rd place for him.
Good start for him so far. Trying to go on another flying lap. Probably wanted that slipstream from the orange car ahead, but wasn't able to get it. That driver just pulled off as he's going to go deep into this turn here and try to get the best run he possibly can for the long straightaway into a hard braking corner.
Yeah, that's another thing, is we're going to be talking about slipstream a lot. It's a big factor when it comes to racing at this track. It can help keep you in a battle. It can definitely help you make a pass or two, considering how long the straightaways are. So a lot of these guys, even in qualifying too, are going to be looking to get as much slipstream as they can to help improve themselves on the timesheets. And also Thomas Layton too, very close in behind Andrew Pilata in 4th. Layton in 5th, 7/700ths of a second back on the timesheet, so looking to try to improve his time in the beautiful Mercedes M4. You can tell that was sarcasm.
I've always thought it looked like an old Dodge Intrepid from the NASCAR days. That's always what I've compared it to. It's definitely a mean-looking front end, and it definitely has his character, and it definitely... it's a bunch of drivers actually kind of like it. A bunch of people I've talked to kind of like it. In my opinion, it's definitely an interesting one, as he's gonna just barely go off, but he keeps the momentum going through the kink.
Yeah, definitely a really good car, though, from what I've heard to actually drive, but the front end just does not quite agree with me as much. The back end looks pretty nice as he works through Canada corner. It's going to be a big corner as well for these guys. Sandtrap waiting right on the outside. Probably not going to be too hair-raising in the GT3 cars, but these guys push the limit a little bit too much. They will definitely find themselves in the sand trap and even in the wall, too. That's going to be one thing to be careful for.
Yeah, if the racing gets too aggressive, you're going to see a bunch of people in these sand traps. And that sand trap out of Canada quarter, there's not much to it. If you're not in the sand trap, you're probably into the tire barriers. There's not much room to work with in that corner, as he's going to come across the line to either start or put down the lap. I think he actually went through a 207.48, so put him 4th on the board.
Yeah, I was able to improve by about 0.2 of a second over Pilata, putting him back into 5th place. For the most part, most of the drivers have come down and put a time. Just take a look at the manufacturer's spread to see if there's really anything in particular of note. Pretty much the Audi and the Lamborghinis up near the top of the board. Not too surprised that V10 working very well for both those cars. German horses in both of them. I think that's always the fun fact, is the fact that the Lamborghini is basically an Audi R8 with a different body.
Definitely, I don't know, it always looks like a Lamborghini to me. The big distinctive factor is obviously the flames coming out of the rear end, which I always see out of a Lamborghini. It definitely has its character as well, has its one and only, it's one feature that really sticks out and it makes you know, oh yeah, that's a Lamborghini. So definitely one of the cooler cars iRacing's brought into the sim in a little bit of time, is Ken Huzo's going to try to put down another lap. Still second on the board though, still chasing Alessandrini.
Yeah, he's got 2 more flying laps. If he can get back to the start-finish line in time, you'll be able to finish a lap. Again, due to open qualifying, when you start a lap and check flag comes in, you're still able to finish it. So he's going to be hoping for that, just to get 2 more attempts to try to make up a half a second deficit back to Alessandrini, who's absolutely flying around this track. That's amazing that he's been able to pull that big of a gap, considering how relatively close the field is for the most part. But he's pretty much in a league of his own. Also, we're talking about flames coming out of the back car, trying to see who's the lone McLaren we had. Or actually, we have 2. Jack Chrissy in 3rd place. And talking about flames there, you got some coming out of the back tailpipes of that machine. Just right on board here. Always love seeing this as he heads into turn 5. And cue the flamethrower.
There it is. I was waiting on it. Kind of timed it a bit wrong, as he's going to try to get up the hill and get through these corners best as possible. He doesn't have time to get around for one more lap, so if he's going to jump up the leaderboard, this is it for him.
Yeah, also a very nice paint scheme on that, and adapted from the Formula 1 paint scheme. In fact, we have 3 different Formula 1 paint schemes in this field.
Not an F1 league, though.
No, not an F1 league. I'm also surprised, too. I guess this is probably, with iRacing finally announcing that we're getting the 911 GT3 car. I guess really after that, I guess then the McLaren would be the next one, the newer one, considering this car has not run in quite a few years.
Well, they're always updating cars right after iRacing gets them. Can't fault iRacing for that. Is look how hard Chrissy's sending it into these corners. Got to send it as hard as you can into the kink without going way too wide. Misses the curb. Is going to get a really clean exit down into Canada corner. This could be a fast one.
Yeah, I'll keep on board with him to see if he does improve on the timesheets again, sitting about 6 to 7 tenths of a second back from Alessandrini. A little bit more than a tenth back from Hausil.
Oh,
he slides it out way wide, pushing through Canada corner. He's going to have to come around a second time.
He might actually have... I didn't think he'd have time to get another lap in, but he will have about 20 seconds he'll get to the line with, so he'll have one more run with those tires. The tires are going to be a bit too warm, but maybe he can make them work. There's also one more lap for the Lamborghini of Huzel.
Yeah, Hausil is definitely going to be trying to make up that time. If he can, it's going to be a tall order for Alessandrini. I think he's still also flying out on the track. He's not going to have enough time to complete a lap. We'll see if this lap is going to be quicker for him, though, as he comes rounding out of the final turn. Going to look up the hill. Yeah, checkered flag will be in the air ending qualifying. But for Alessandrini, see if he can improve, which would be a big feat. He's already quickest by a long shot. And as he comes across the line, does he improve? He will not. So that'll be at the end of Alessandrini's qualifying session. Looking at some other drivers on the track. Andrew Pilata working through the middle part of the track. Let's see if there's anyone else close to the line. 35 Will Robbins, he's coming flying to the line for him. He came across, and it looks like it's going to be no improvement for him.
Oh, a massive shunt in the background. They hit each other. All the BMWs, looks like a bunch of people tried to get in line with each other, tried to slipstream, and it helps you in the slipstream, but it'll definitely hurt you off the corners. You need clean air to get good exits out of all these corners. We'll see if Ken Housel can get out of the corner. Nope. There's a product of it. That dirty air just sends him right off the track and ends his lap.
Yeah, and people might think, dirty air, it's really a big thing in Formula 1 car, do the air with those cars, and that's definitely a true thing, but it's still also for GT3 cars. Through these fast corners like the kink, you need to have clean air, and Ken Housel proving it exactly why you need that. As we come through, flying through the last part of the lap for Andrew Pilata, gonna come out of the final corner. We'll see if he can improve. Still actually amazed that this Ford GT is all the way up in 6th place. Typically shafted, I think, a lot of times when it comes to the BOP because not too many people still race this car. But as he comes across the line, Pilata, let's see, was it an improvement for him? No, he does not. It was an unclean lap. For Jack Christie, one of the last few cars to work his way around. Taking a nice heaping amount of curb, and nope, he's actually going to bring it down to pit lane, so he's going to give up on that lap. I think trying to look at anyone else out here. Adam Crandall, he's come across the line as well, so he's finished. And so that's going to wrap up qualifying here. And from the looks of it, looks like got DJ Alessandrini on pole, Ken Housel in 2nd, Jack Christie in 3rd, Thomas Layden 4th, and Morgan Burkhart in 5th, rounding out your top 5.
Definitely interesting qualifying. A bunch of people, looked like all the fast times got put down way early in the session, but a lot of people still tried to improve at the back half of the session, but maybe the track just heated up a bit too much for anyone to improve.
Yeah, at least now these guys don't have to worry about that. Now the big thing is going to be racing the track as well as your competitors, and also, again, watching out for that dirty air.
Yeah, the dirty air is going to be interesting to see. We'll see if the leader can get any sort of gap, to see if Alessandrini can get a gap at the beginning of the race, because if he gaps about a second to a second and a half away from 2nd place, he's basically probably going to be away for the rest of the race, because it's very difficult to close up time once you lose it. So the guys behind Alessandrini are going to have to work really hard to stay with him.
It is going to be a concern considering his gap in qualifying already was 0.5 of a second, which is you expect maybe about a 10th or 2 gap between 1st and 2nd place, especially considering how competitive Ken Housel is. But yeah, that is a pretty big gap and almost a little bit concerning for some of these other guys in the fields. They're definitely going to have to get their head down and focus to keep up with the 61 car.
It's going to be difficult to do for sure, and you got to be careful about the scramble into the first 5 or so turns. You got the big breaking point in the turn 1 that everyone's going to be trying to get any position possible that they can. Might see 3 wide into some of these corners, and then obviously down into turn 3 before the long back straightaway, and then you have that big breaking point into turn 5, and that's where Alessandrini's got to get away. If he is not in front of Ken Housel by the time they get to turn 5, if he gives Housel any sort of look into turn 5 for a dive bomb, it could get dicey.
It definitely can. We got 18 drivers lined up and ready to go here. In fact, let's cut down to the track. We'll go through your starting lineup here. And as we mentioned a few moments ago, on pole is DJ Alessandrini. There we go. Oh, it doesn't seem like this is working. That's unfortunate. Try that again. No, it's not. Alright, so I guess we'll go refer to the side ticker for that. Not sure why that's giving some trouble. But there you see on the side of your screen, DJ Alessandrini starting on pole, Ken Housel in 2nd, Christie in 3rd, Layden 4th, Burkhart in 5th, Andrew Pilata going to be starting in 6th with Elias Roman in 7th, and Kyle Herbst lining up in 8th.
You got the 69 and the 35 on that 5th row with each other, and they are trying to round at the top 10 to get some track position. Lausen and Gross, 11th and 12th. Fitzgerald and Heath on the next row. Then Crandall, Orstrom, Huffman, and Nichols rounding up the rest of this 18-car field today.
These guys already beginning their pace lap here. Going to take one full lap around this fantastic track, and taking a look as well through turn number 1 is going to be a bit sketchy here on the opening lap. These guys do have an hour of racing, but in some cases that can be a lot of time, but I'm sure for some of these guys maybe not enough time, especially if you're towards the back. Definitely going to have to watch out for some sprawls or anyone trying to be a little bit too aggressive into turn 1.
Going to feel like an extremely long race for Ken Housel and DJ Alessandrini, but for the guys starting about 16th, 17th, and 18th, this race is basically going to feel like 15 minutes and you have to go immediately. So we're going to see the levels of urgency throughout the field shifting between each other. Alessandrini's not going to be too urgent. He's going to just try to bide his time and stay in the front. The guys starting outside the top 12 or so, they're going to think they have to go immediately, and they're going to pull some big dive bombs. I wouldn't be surprised to see it.
Yeah, also taking a look at our weather for tonight, 83 degrees in the air, 112 on the track, so fairly warm track surface, definitely have seen hotter. So that's another thing for these guys to be careful of, is the track being a little bit slicker maybe than they would particularly like, especially when they're throwing it hard to some of these corners, especially turn 5. I remember for the Scars series, for their races here, there's a lot of guys pirouetting down into turn number 5, so I think that's definitely something to keep in mind of when they were running in the Lamborghini GT3.
Yeah, it's very easy to overshoot these long, hard braking corners. Turn 5, you always see people flying off, going straight into the sand trap. You always see mistakes there. We could easily see mistakes there on cold tires into turn 5. I wouldn't be surprised to see that as well. You got to be very patient going into that corner.
Yeah, you can see there, Road America constructed in 1955. Been existing around for quite a while, and for the most part, fairly yeah, actually, I didn't even plan that. That last fact said is that it's retained its original one of the few tracks to retain its original configuration. I think they might have adjusted the profile of some corners here and there and added some runoff, but other than that, this track's pretty much as it came out of the box, which is a very big rarity. Because, you know, usually some tracks like Watkins Glen, Road America, they're fairly different from the way they are now. Laguna Seca too as well, fairly different from the way they are now.
Yeah, definitely very different, but don't hold your breath. NASCAR goes there on the 4th of July. I'm sure they'll change something to make the racing better there of some sort. You know that kink from turn 5, if you go straight, it'll bring you back to the final corner?
Oh,
that's what NASCAR should just do, make it an oval. It'd just be 4, or they could go backwards, downhill, it could just be 4 corners.
It'll be like the Bahrain Outer Circuit, basically.
Basically, that's all it would be. They'd somehow change it to make that, but like you're talking about, it is a very unique track in many ways. It's unique in general, it's just unique that it hasn't been changed. That's just because it was well built, a lot of good braking corners, you got kinks here and there, a very unique carousel design as well. It's definitely one of the classics.
Indeed, I have a feeling we're gonna be in for a classic race here. 18 GT3 cars getting riled up and ready to go through the final few corners. DJ Alessandrini in the AlphaTauri Audi R8. They'll be leading them down to green. The whole wheel waits patiently to scream it down towards turn number 1. Out of the final corner, the Porsche pace car is going to make the right turn onto pit road. And slowly up the hill, these guys will wait. Waiting.
How long is he going to hold him? He can wait forever as long as he just goes at the right time.
Still waiting. Finally, we're green. There we go. Field already splitting out, trying to make some moves, and we're green here for Road America.
Alessandrini waited a long time. He's going to get the preferred line, obviously, into turn number 1 to try to clear that Lamborghini of Ken Hauser, who will probably have to deal with the rest of the field.
Out to see a field working the way through turn number 1, nice and orderly for the most part. Up for the lead, Alessandrini going to take the lead ahead of Ken Hauser, Jack Christie, Layton, Burkhart, your top 5, all getting somewhat sorted out into the corner, and it looks like everyone's going to make it through the first series corners.
Very big first set of corners for these guys to not hit each other, but the real test comes in turn 5, and that's when it gets really tight. Here comes Ken Hauser. He has that slipstream down this straightaway. He might look into turn number 5. Alessandrini's going to protect that bottom line.
Yeah, it was looking like Ken. I was thinking about making a run's going to be nice on over the curbs, trying to get a better exit out of the corner, but it's not going to be enough. Going to have to slot back in line. For a few of the other guys getting side by side, Elias Roman, I think, was just able to make the pass on Andrew Pilata, putting him back into 7th place. Oh, and speaking of Pilata, going to be out in turn 6, going to be hard into the concrete barrier. That's going to be a lot of damage to his machine.
Yeah, he hit very square on that left side. Be careful rejoining the track. He just got too much throttle up out of, I believe that was turn number 6, and he just couldn't save it.
Through the carousel for the first time for these guys. Again, you're talking about the dirty air. Definitely going to have to watch it through this corner, and especially coming up now the Cape.
Definitely the worst part for dirty air, because if you go too far off, you're just going to slam that wall with your left side, similar to how the Ford GT did, but not in a single. The car got way sideways. How was he able to save that? Someone else, a BMW, went off. How did Morgan Burkhead save that?
Yeah, take a look at that. That was some fantastic driving right there.
You cannot. It's so difficult to save these cars with the traction control they can have. You just see he hit the curb a decent bit here. He's already sideways. Look at the wheel work there.
Yeah, that's the big thing too. iRacing's traction control, notably for trying to kill you when you overstep it too far. So that's some impressive driving at a high-speed slide like that. It's usually a death sentence, but somehow Burkhardt able to hang on. I'm sure he's definitely going to need to take a few breaths and also have to regain composure because he's got Elias Rome now starting to breathe down his neck for that 5th place position. But lap number 1 complete. Ken Alceel already trying to bear down on Alex Drini as the top 2 slowly breaking away from Chrissy and his McLaren in behind.
McLaren not looking like it has the pace to get there right now. Leighton's trying to stay with Chrissy as well. Those 4 have really broken away from everyone else as Morgan Burkhardt is just really trying to keep his cool after that slide as Alzo's got another run. He'll have it into turn number 5, but Allison Drini still has enough pace. He'll probably be able to defend that inside line.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Alceel is going to do, if he's going to decide to play the waiting game or if he's going to try to make a move early on. Looks like he's content with being patient for now and let the opportunity present itself later on in the race.
Everyone's single file. A lot of the moves that were made were happening in the first 2 corners as everyone's going to get through turn 6. Well, so far it's a little bit sideways for one driver there, but look how single file, look how spread out it's getting between all these drivers, except for, I believe that might be the battle for about 12th. We got 4 cars right under a blanket. Oh, we got a car off.
Danny Gross trying to hold on to his Audi R8, going for quite a slide. But we'll get his car back onto the racing surface in one piece. I think just went a little bit too wide here coming up through turn 7 here through turn 6. And now turn 7, it's a very deceiving corner. You can go through there pretty fast, but got the curve the wrong way and out he went.
Driver in front of him kind of cut it a little bit, and I think he wanted to do the same thing, but it just took him by surprise. He's lucky he was able to slow it down and save it, but he lost a lot of track position.
Yeah, just a wrong bounce of the curve. That's all it's going to take. Looking at Will Robbins trying to bear it down on Kyle Herbst up ahead in the BMW. In fact, 2 BMWs battling for position here.
BMWs converging on each other, mainly these 2 right now. He's trying to get that 7th spot away, but just cooked it too hard under braking, getting the corner, did not get the run he wanted out of that set of corners. Tries to look to the inside from way back, but you'll just have to try again next lap.
Not too good of a run out of the last corner for Will Robbins. Will try to use the toe down the straightaway to reel back in the Kyle Herbst. And up ahead, matter of these guys just getting their cars under control. For Andrew Plata, he has made a trip down pit lane to fix that car up. I do believe these guys have one fast repair available to them, so Plata taking advantage of that, getting this car back out, but all the way back in 16th after starting up in 6th.
And that's his race pretty much done because he's going to have to, I would assume, make another pit stop for likely fuel, definitely fuel, and probably tires. He's still 16th, not dead last. Heath and Crandall must have had other issues, maybe together or not together, but they're 17th and 18th. As this battle for the lead is now a 3-car battle, Chrissy's caught up to them. Yeah,
I'm not surprised this is very close. I am surprised by Chrissy. He was able to catch back up and now really use the toe. Thought he was going to drift back at the rate he was going at, but is sitting nicely in 3rd. So it's Audi, Lamborghini, McLaren. They're in top 3 with a BMW and another Lamborghini back 4th and 5th.
So these top 3 are pretty much likely going to be separated for the majority of the race because once a driver gets out of that toe, it's good, like we talked about, it's going to be really difficult to catch back up. And Leighton's in that situation where he doesn't have anyone in tow with him. Morgan Burkhardt is a bit too far back from him, but he's just not in the wake of Chrissy just yet. So he needs those top 3 to battle really hard to get back into that battle.
Morgan Burkhardt has been trying to keep Elias Roman in behind, has been able to do so far. He's been successful at keeping that Mercedes in behind this race.
Trying to get the good run through the kink, can't get away from that 99 machine of Roman. Those 2 are kind of just on their own. Herbst is a little bit too far behind to contend right now. He's having to deal with Robbins back there, 7th and 8th, those 2 are.
Also taking a look at Dave Fitzgerald and Francois Brou running 9th, 10th, and teammates in the Ferraris, the only 2 Ferraris in the field, running pretty much smack dab in the middle of the field, 9th and 10th.
I think they're the only 2 teammates who actually put the same paint scheme on for each other, so I like seeing the team representation. There's no other AlphaTauri in the field, no other McLaren like that in the field, the one that Chrissy's driving. I don't think he has anyone in that same paint scheme. Cool to see those 2 team paint schemes.
Yeah, and down the front straight of Mercedes versus Lamborghini, side-by-side drag race into turn number 1. It looks like Francois Brou is going to win it on this occasion, but Burkhardt going to try to do the over-under. Gets a decent run out at turn 1. Nowhere to go by turn 2, however.
Gonna stay right close to that rear bumper of that Mercedes, but probably will not get enough of a run to get back. The BMW in the background I believe that's Herbst trying to make something happen, got into the grass a little bit, but Burkhardt, excuse me, will have a decent run into turn 5. We'll see if he uses it.
There we go. Here's the Lamborghini. Great run down towards turn number 5. Going to have a look up the inside. If it is going to be enough, we're going way out over the curbs. Trying to give space, was trying maybe to do an over-under, but is going to lose 1, maybe 2 spots. Kyle Hurst trying to have a look up the inside into turn 6 is not going to be enough. He's going to have to wait patiently for another opportunity.
Yeah, turn 6 just not much of a passing corner there. I think Roman wanted to do that over-under, but he got too far over. If you get on that curb too much, you just kind of slide the tires and you have no grip under braking. So a bit of a mistake there cost him that spot. He'll have to do that pass all over again.
See Kyle Hurst, if he can try to maybe get something down, another great opportunities out of this carousel. Look at the run he gets through the carousel as well, compared to who made up a huge amount of time.
This is difficult when you're in the kink and if you're right on someone's rear bumper, you can't see where to turn in. It could cost you a bunch of time because you might go out wide, but Kyle Herbst, it would make it work that time, but I don't think you'll ever look in again at the corner.
Yeah, had to give him some time, ran a little bit wide over the curves, had to really get out of throttle. As you mentioned, it's just so tough because kink's already a blind corner. You put a car directly in front of you, it becomes that much more of a blind corner. It becomes a lot harder to gauge when your turning point is, and I think turned maybe just a little bit later than he probably would have liked. As had to give up some time there on the exit, so we'll be trying to chase down Elias Roman up at the top, checking your top 3 again. Chrissy falling a little bit further away, maybe too far to his liking, but Al Cedrini, House Seal, nose to tail once again.
Yeah, that blind corner, that kink, you might have, it's a blind exit for sure. You put a car in front of you, it's a blind entry as well. It's just completely blind, so definitely scary when you're right on someone, when you want to make that pass, but you can't. Allison Journey, a bit of a mistake, goes wide a little bit. That'll keep Ken Housel right in tow with him, as Chrissy, like you were talking about, almost falling off of their tail, although I think he's still barely there. Yeah,
he's trying to keep in touch, although he's lost a lot of time. Last lap through was, let's see, he ran a 208.4. By comparison, Ken O'Seal, he ran a 207.7 last lap through.
All over him. He's just patiently waiting. Maybe he wants to stay behind him so he can undercut him in pit road, but he's going to try to over-under him on the track. Maybe look into turn 6, but he'll just stay right behind him.
Yeah, I think Ken's usually the type of driver, he'll send him behind the driver until the last possible lap to make a move. That's just the type of driver how Seal is. He'll wait for the opportunity. He won't try to force the issue more than he has to, as he's just going to try to wear down Allison Drini and hope that DJ makes a mistake, which it's rare, but I have seen DJ has made some mistakes in the past. So I think he's going to have to hope on one of those rare occurrences to see the 61 get out of shape, but so far DJ and Amanda beat tonight.
Definitely, these two drivers are definitely the ones to beat, as Chrissy falls off a little bit more, but still tries to close back in, as these two are really going to be difficult, as I think we saw Lamborghini might go wide, as we have a few battles along the track. The battle for 5th is still pretty heated up with Morgan Burkhardt, and these two Ferraris are still trying to heat up as well.
Yeah, Dave Fitzgerald chasing down on Francois Brou, his teammate up ahead, and then also Peter Lausen in the 56 Lamborghini right in behind in 11th, trying to chase down Fitzgerald. He's got a fantastic run here out of the kink. I'm not sure he's got really any particular place to go. Heading to Canada Corner, Noah's going to have to stay in behind.
Tried to do an over-under, get a better run, but didn't really get the run he probably wanted, as he's trying to make something work, but it's very hard to pass at this section of the corner. Really, the turn 1, turn 5 are really the main passing zones. If you don't get the pass up there, you kind of just got to wait until the turn 1 passing zone again, and then you can try to make another run.
Riding back on board with the 56, I think is going to have a little bit of a better run this time by. Actually, maybe not as much as I would have thought.
Doesn't have much to work with right now.
Whoa, Fitzgerald throwing it very hard into turn number 1. Got very sideways and was still able to hold on to that car.
Last thing you expect to see is a GT3 car getting out of shape in the middle of a corner. On the downshift, it looked like it just broke away from another great piece of wheel work there.
These guys remain really quick reaction times. He needed to save these cars, and seen some fantastic saves so far. Of our cars retired, though, looks like we've lost one driver. Oystrom in the 17 machine. He's retired. Retired 3 laps ago. Ethan Crandall both ran into some issues here, as you saw there. Landon Lausen, finally get past Fitzgerald for 10th place. Take a look at Crandall. Not sure what happened to him in the McLaren. He's running back in 16th after starting fairly close to that position. And for Darren Heath in the 45, for some reason also not showing up his information. Is currently running back there after making an early pit stop. Actually, speaking of which, Will Robbins, he's just gone down to pit road.
He's destroyed that car.
Seen better days. See what happened to that.
Coming out of turn 6, hits the curb and gets on that curb, and he just gets sideways and a huge hit the curb, and he just never locked it. He couldn't lock it down in time. Throttled up into that wall basically, and that will kill the car, and you'll have to use a faster pair and lose a lot of time.
Yeah, it's going to be, as you mentioned, pretty much going to be race over for him. Looking back at this battle for 5th, Kyle Herbst has joined the fray. Or I guess you should say he's stayed in the fray. He's been trying to get past Roman and Burkhardt for a little while here, but now he's got both of them right in front, nose to tail.
Yeah, all three drivers have been nose to tail for a few laps now as they're still trying to get around Morgan Burkhardt, who just continues to play good defense and stay in front of these guys. The runs down these straightaways are going to kill Burkhardt. They're also going to kill Roman. Roman doesn't have any straight line speed, it seems, but they both have big straight line speed over Burkhardt, as we might see 3 wide at one point. It's definitely going to be 2 wide into turn 1.
Oh, 3 wide.
Oh,
probably
boy.
Not going to work. So out here's going to stay to the inside of Elias Roman. Roman's going to yield on this occasion. He's going to get a decent run, though, out of turn 1. Nowhere to quite go. And meanwhile, Burkhardt just trying to hold off both these guys.
He's going to get a wide exit, though. The BMW behind him is going to get a decent exit. Not as good, but Burkhardt's going to be in no man's land into turn 5. He'll have to choose between protecting or just staying in his line here.
And look at the run that Herbst is getting. Going to get a fantastic run down into turn number 1. There he's starting at turn number 1. Turn number 5. Going to have a look up the inside. An easy spot gain for Herbst. He's going to gain 2 spots and 2 corners.
Able to make it work really well there. No opportunity on the over-under for Burkhardt. Has still got the battle between the Ferraris and a few others back there, but this battle for 5th could be all done with if Herbst can pull away.
Checking back in on that battle, Lausen trying to catch back up to Francois Brou, who's leading this train. Then it's Fitzgerald, Murphy, Nichols also in behind. And Nichols has been having a pretty solid day. He started back in 18th up into 11th. I think joined the session fairly late, so hasn't been able to get as much track time as his other competitors, but doing pretty well.
Started dead last, shotgun on the field. He's able to make it work so far. Has an opportunity to get into the top 10 if he can gain a few more positions. So definitely been a strong climb. And at these road courses and these GT3 cars, it's very difficult to make that climb up through the field. Much easier to do on oval racing. So a really strong effort so far.
Lost a little bit of time through the king there as they're trying to chase back to really get a good amount of draft from the group up ahead. Looking now at Elias Roman, now trying to get back on Burkhardt, trying to look in the final corner, but wasn't quite able to set it up. He's going to get a fantastic run out of the final corner, arguably too good. Had to jump on the brakes there for a second to avoid hitting him.
Yeah, it really ruined his run. He probably would have had him before even into turn number 1, but they're going to stay side by side into turn number 1, and he'll have the inside line for this corner.
Going to use a little bit of side draft as he has a look up the inside. You're going to be, new driver really wants to yield on this occasion. Burkhardt's going to have to as he gets kind of forced out to the outside and going to have to give Roman the spot.
Well, it looked like Lauzon was getting side by side with Brou in the background for that 9th position as well, as we see that the Lamborghini had a bit of a pass for turn 1 there.
Yeah, taking a look back at it, Lauzon making a slow climb up through the order through against the other Ferrari. This is Francois Brou, as you mentioned. A fairly easy pass. Brou did not put up much of a fight there.
Lauzon is going to try to get by his teammate, or might be the other way around. That is Brou trying to get by him into turn number 5 now as Lauzon starts to fall back a little bit. We'll try the over-under on his teammate. We'll just let him through instead.
Yeah, Dave Fitzgerald going to let Brou on by. And they will move up. And now Murphy Nichols, that battling has allowed his Ferrari to get up into the fray. Now he's got 3 Ferraris, 9th, 10th, and 11th in the midfield. Nichols next to have his shot at trying to move up a few spots. Taking a look back at this battle up near the top. Christie's been leaving and going into this fight. He's arrived yet again for another chance. I thought he was going to completely fade out, but here he is still staying in the mix. You see Leighton too. He's still booking in behind as well, putting down some decent lap times similar to the leaders, but is still just a little bit too far back.
If any of them start battling, Leighton will definitely be right there. The fact he's been able to stay somewhat close to these top 3 without any tow for the majority of this race has been pretty impressive. He's definitely far ahead of Herbst, 7 seconds back to 4th place, so the top 4 are definitely looking pretty solid right now to stay where they are unless something happens. And these top 3, they are still right on top of each other as well.
Yeah, and Chrissy trying to get a run now. He's actually got a pretty decent run out of the final corner. Not sure it's going to be enough, but definitely looks like he's going to be more aggressive rather than just trying to stay in tow with these guys. His McLaren going to make up a huge amount of time under braking. Wow.
He's going to lose a little bit of it on exit, but it's not a long straightaway, so it won't really matter. If he can get into the corners like that and still nail the exits out of some of these corners, he's in good shape. Doesn't get too much under braking there. Still gets a good exit. You see Hauser sort of get the back end out of shape there, trying everything he can to get off that corner with a good run.
Yeah, and for Chrissy, not too terribly good of an exit out of turn number 3. So he's not going to get a good run down this straightaway, but these guys remain in tow with one another. And for Thomas Layton, made up a second, just about a little under a second on the leader. So he's starting to make some more and more inroads as we get through the 1/3 mark of this race.
Him and Chrissy, for all we know, could have been laying back. They could have been saving the tires. Keeping the tires at an optimal temperature really matters in these GT3 cars. If you heat them up way too much, you will not get any sort of ground. It won't be at a good temperature, and you'll just be slipping and sliding for the rest of the run. So keeping them at a good temperature, keeping them not too worn is very key.
Yeah, we'll see for Chrissy now, trying to get really close to the back of Cano. See if he can start to have a chance or a look for position as they go through the carousel.
Got tons of battles going through the mid-pack. Fitzgerald and Gross look very close. Brewer, Burkhead, these drivers still trying to get all over each other, as well as pass into the carousel. Doing a really good job. I believe that might be Roman or Herbst. Trying to see who that is.
Burkhart's back here, and I think something definitely happened to
Oh,
him. Here's a look. This turn 6.
Turn 6.
Yeah.
That was a very too late of an entry for sure. Turn 6 looks to be the trouble spot. It's usually not the, it's usually the kink, but turn 6, that uphill left-hander is proving a lot of trouble for a bunch of these guys. Just got into the grass on entrance.
So after that mistake, it puts him all the way back in 8th place, trying to get that. Oh,
someone else is off.
Lap
Who
car
is
off.
that?
That is Adam Crandell. Crandall, sorry, in the 15th place in the 8 car. Off the track in Canada corner. I think was trying to get out of the way. Might have gotten a little bit too far out of the way for his liking.
I do apologize, just quickly apologize, because I might not know a lot of drivers' names. Definitely not a series that I'm used to, but definitely a lot of fun to watch. There's battles all around this track. 3 cars, the 2 to 3 cars under blanket. Hopefully, looks like Chrissy fell off a little bit. We still got the battle for 6th, battle for 5th, and also the battle for 8th is still really good as well.
I'll keep an eye on this one. This is one of the closest battles at the moment, as Burkhardt trying to chase back to Lausen to make up some time after his mistake a lap ago. Costing him about, I want to say about, cost him about 2 positions. So we'll see if he can try to make that back up.
Cost him 2 positions, but it cost him a lot of track position, a lot of time on track. That he gained a lot of time, had a good run through the field so far, but he'll have to do it all over again with not too much time left. We'll probably be soon getting to the halfway point of this race, and you've got, oh, he's way too deep in. Oh, and
gonna door Lausen there, and I'm not sure that was necessarily on purpose, more of him trying to slow the car down, but he was way past his braking point.
Yeah, it was a sign of respect. He didn't mean to do that, so he just let him right back by. He's way deep. I don't even think he's thinking about a pass here. He's just trying to get closer into braking, and he hits the brakes, and he's just way too far in. He was trying to keep the car going straight. A gentleman move there to let him give him the spot back. Excuse me.
Let's take another look at it here, heading flying on down to turn number 5.
I guarantee you, the back end view of the Lamborghini is probably not very fun.
So for Burkhardt, he actually, I'm not sure if he ended up letting Lausen back pass, but that's the way they're running. I'm going to assume that he did.
Yeah, right after the incident happened. I can't imagine the view from Roman's, from whoever that, I think that was Herbst's car. I can't imagine the rear end view of that orange car was very fun. I'm sure it was very scary.
Riding on board with Francois Brew, looking at Murphy Nichols in behind in a Ferrari. Then we got Danny Gross in the 72 and 11th, and he had an off earlier in the race out of turn 7. And he's been trying to make up from that mistake, trying to climb back inside the top 10. Oh, he's going to have another off.
He's going to keep it. Oh, he's not going to save it. He's going to go pretty hard into the tire barriers as well. That is a big, big hit.
Fortunately for him, pit road is right here, so he'll be able to come down probably a little bit earlier than he would have liked to fix his car. Indeed, there he goes off into the pit lane. But this is a tricky section of track. The car is on on tilt, trying to make it through the section as fast as possible. Just a little bit offline. Got too much curb. And into the grass.
And then he didn't turn it right. He was trying to keep it straight to get back on the track, but he just shoved it way left, and the tire barrier is there to meet him.
And so he's down on pit lane, gonna try to fix that car back up, get it back out there. Checking back in on our leaders, and notably Ken Alcil now, he's really starting to fall off the pace from Alessandrini. Last lap through was a 208.2 for Ken Alcil in the 23. For DJ, 207.5 for him.
Could have been a mistake by Housel somewhere, but it's definitely not going to be a good sight to see Alessandrini get out of the wake. If he can't get drafted out of Alessandrini, that 61 car, that AlphaTauri machine, is pretty much going to be gone unless Housel or Christie or someone else can pull some strategy to maybe get the lead back with an undercut.
Yeah, so top few getting separated on out. Layden actually looking like he might be able, especially now that Chrissy's looking like he might not be getting much of a tow, might be able to chase him back down as he's been sitting quietly in fourth since pretty much the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, Layton's trying everything he can to get back into the fray of things, just still hasn't gotten a tow yet. He's so close to getting to the rear diffuser, rear end of Chrissy's car to get a little bit of draft, which would really help his race dramatically, but just not quite in that range yet.
Taking a little bit further look back at Kyle Hurst, hasn't really been able to make much inroads on the top four. Still trying to maintain his distance back to Elias Roman, who's been slowly chasing him down and just maintaining that pace between 5th and 6th. And then what happened with Burkhardt, he's been trying to work his way back up closer to Roman, which is who he was fighting before. He had his little off. And then we look at also Francois Brew, Murphy Nichols, their battle continues onwards.
And Nichols actually has a good run down the main straightaway, so he might have a look into turn number 1. Brew, we'll see if he defends it at all. He'll just let him have the right side of the track to have a little bit of a dive.
Well, is he established enough alongside? No. Nichols is going to have to back out. It has a little bit of a flash minute. There he is back.
His internet backed out too.
A little bit of a warning sign thing. That's probably not going to work out for you, so he's going to try again, though, now out of turn 3, all over the back of Brew.
I personally would have went for the move into turn 1 and make Brew do an undercut, an over-under or something, but he might have a bit of a run into turn 5, but just doesn't really have the power. Flashing the lights, he wants to get by. He's definitely, in my opinion, quicker and wants to get by, but Francois Brew will not let him go that easily.
Yeah, Francois Brew going to make him work for it, and Brew, a very respectful driver. I don't think I've really seen him running with any driver with many races he's taken part in over Sim TV, so definitely shows a lot of respect to his competitors. I'm sure he's going to demand Murphy do the same, so he's going to work him hard for it, though.
Definitely someone you really want to, someone you want to see on a racetrack, because look how hard Nichols is really driving the back end of that thing as Brew's going to send it into this corner, trying to make it work. He's still trying to get back up to his teammate and Burkhardt as well, so we'll see how hard he does try to keep defending.
And actually, here's his other teammate, Dave Fitzgerald, only back in 13th. Dave has come down to pit lane. Came down 2 laps ago, which I want to assume is a scheduled stop.
Yeah, we didn't see him go off or anything, and he was battling with those guys. I can't assume he made any sort of mistake, so this would definitely be one of the first stops we've seen.
Ooh, Jack Chrissy, who I think he just had it off in the final corner.
Just lost to 3rd position.
Oh, yeah, a little bit off in the grass there. Woo!
Woo! He was almost setting the BMW into pit road there.
And so Layden now inside the top 3 for the first time this race. Has got Ken Alcil directly ahead of him. And Alessandrini lighting the timing sheet on fire as he's went a second faster than Alcil. And even Alcil, too. I'm not sure what's going on with this Lamborghini, but he's struggling. He was also half a second slower than Layden in behind him.
It just could have been a product of him driving the car too hard. He was all over Alessandrini at the beginning of the run. He could have just been driving the car too hard and driving harder than the tires could take, and those tires might have just finally fallen off a cliff, and he might be struggling as long as he's on these tires because he could have really overheated them badly.
You have to see if he's going to be able to turn them back on in the right direction or do something to catch back up to DJ, but DJ doing a very solid job. He's got a lap car ahead. I believe it's Will Robbins in the 35. And Robbins, another driver that's also made his pit stop, came in 6 laps ago. And oh, wait, no, that was because he went flying into, he went flying into the wall.
Yes, so he's someone who he could probably, I would assume he might be able to make it to the end of this timed race, but he will definitely not have the track position he would like, as he'll likely definitely go a lap down at some point, or maybe he can stick it out before the leaders pit.
Astrini rarely on the curves there, really trying to fly on through. Showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon for 61.
But a 3-second lead doesn't mean anything to you. A 3-second lead, it means you back it down. No, you try to make it a 5-second lead. You gotta go. Anything can happen. You gotta make as big of a gap as possible.
DJ is definitely the type of driver to win by who wants to win by as big a margin as possible, regardless of the circumstances.
I'm the oval version of that. Whenever you have a lead, you want to open it up as much as possible, just in case anything happens. You need as big of a gap. If you get pushed off by a lap car or go into the barriers or something, if you still have a gap to work with, you might be able to get back out in front of the lead.
Yeah, never want to rest on your laurels. Any form of racing or any type of series, you want to try to keep the gap. If you have an advantage, you want to keep it as much as possible and expand on it if possible. As Burkhart was able to get around, I think he was able to get around Laus. I'm not sure if we caught that, but he's now starting to run away from the 56.
You're definitely probably out of the wake, almost out of the wake right now, and that's really going to hurt Lauzon's runs out of these corners and down the straightaways, as Brew is actually pulled away from Nichols, so Nichols could have overheated his tires trying to get around that 69 machine.
You can see a pretty decent gap, 1.2 seconds back to Murphy Nichols, as Brew is taking a very nice getting a very nice tow from Lauzon up ahead for 8th place, so it's close battle on the track at the moment. Just shy of halfway here, 31 minutes remaining as of right now for these drivers, 16 laps to go. Taking a look at DJ Alessandrini currently running his way through the carousel. There's the gap visually back to Ken Alessio, 2.7 seconds, and it's been stabilized around here for the last few laps, so here's to see what Ken can try to do to reel him back in. Because I can bet you these guys are not taking tires down a pit lane.
Whoa. Chrissy was way off track in the kink there. He's spinning.
And he's gonna. Goes around and wow!
Oh my gosh! And he does
end over end as well.
That's an 8 out of 10. That was beautiful. If this was the Olympics, my goodness, we saw him. I barely saw him get out of shape in the kink. He's trying to chase him back down for 3rd and just could not save it.
Yeah, luckily he had to save for a second there, but yeah, this is what we're talking about when the car gets too sideways, it becomes unsavable, and we saw it right there. Let's take another look at what happened to Chrissy as he went for a wild ride.
I don't know. That probably wouldn't have been too bad if he didn't flip. He was actually almost able to save it. Did a great job keeping it straight this far. Just, he could have locked it down. If he locked it down, he's probably not into the wall too hard, but then he just does 2 flips over, and it's very beautiful. He'll definitely get at least a silver medal for that, but that car is totaled.
He'll get a silver medal, but he's going to finish fairly far down the order in this race. It does have a fast repair to work with, so it's not completely over for the 6th car, but unfortunate end to a very solid run. Was looking like he definitely had a shot for at least 2nd place, but unfortunately no dice for him.
Luckily this happened around halfway. He came into pit road, I think it said around 7th place, so he might still get a decent finish, but definitely not what he was likely on board for. He was likely en route for some sort of podium, at least 4th place, but he unfortunately just way too hard in the kink. It's such an easy mistake to make in that part of the track.
Yeah, so Lane now will be up into 3rd and definitely doesn't have to worry about much. He's got 10 seconds back to Kyle Hurst, who now inherits 4th place after Chrissy's crash. And so looking at Francois Brew trying to chase down Lauzon now for 7th place.
Still right all over him, as I believe Pilata came in the pit again. I wonder if he had another mistake, but that 96 is back in.
I think this is probably more of a scheduled stop for him, because he had to come in pretty much lap 1 or 2 to fix his machine back up, so definitely was not able to make it all the way.
Surprised Ken Housel didn't try to come in a little bit earlier. I felt like his only option to win, or have any chance of getting around Alessandrini, is undercutting him, and to be fair, if Alessandrini sees him pit, he's probably coming in the next lap, so not much you can do if you're Housel, but might as well try something. He might just be also just trying to make sure he stays in 2nd and doesn't give Leighton any sort of room.
Yeah, I am really curious to see when these guys are going to come on down. We're just under halfway in this race. But everyone going to stay out? I guess the idea is keep the car as light as possible. That's when it's quickest.
Yeah, just use as much fuel as possible. Probably, that is probably the case. They'll try to run out the fuel to the very end until they're basically sputtering into pit road, and then they'll probably not take too much fuel. Maybe I would assume take tires. You never really know. You might not take tires, but definitely the goal for a lot of these drivers is to probably just keep it going, as I think that was Pilata just resetting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to him. If he got a speeding penalty or what.
Couldn't have been an unsafe exit. I think he might have just been calling it a day. It didn't look like anything happened. Maybe he was entering pit road. He got a penalty.
Yeah, that's kind of it's kind of weird. It looked like he was getting on track. I thought he was slowing down to let the leaders on by, but it looks like Pilata is going to end up retiring from this race. So hope everything's okay for him. That's unfortunate in his day. Elias, Roman, and Murphy Nichols making their way down pit lane. So just about half the field has made their final stops, if not close to it. Still waiting on the top half of the order. No one's elected to come down just yet in the top 7.
If did Roman come into pit road? It looked like he was probably
he
in pit road. So those two are in the pit road, as I believe Brew, Lausen, they're going to stay on track. Burkhardt's got to be careful as well to not get undercut as well.
Speaking of Burkhardt, working through turn 5 at the moment. Slowly behind is Peter Lausen and Francois Brew.
I thought Burkhardt wouldn't be able to pull away like this because he had a few incidents off track, specifically in the kink, but he's been able to kind of compose himself here and be able to pull out a decent gap, and he's all of a sudden primed for maybe a 5th place finish. Look at that BMW getting very far out of shape there.
Yeah, it's actually the Mercedes of Elias Roman who's just come out of pit lane. Jack Chrissy now with some warmer tires, going to go a little bit wide in turn 3 for a moment. Let's try to chase him back down.
And that Mercedes did just come out of pit road, correct?
Yes.
So this would be for position because Chrissy's likely going to the end. He only did pit about a lap or two earlier because of his damage. So this is for a position, a big position for him to get.
Yeah, we expected to see him get on pass. However, catch is one thing, passing is another. See if Roman makes his life a little bit difficult here as he tries to bear on down.
Which will show how much clean air matters because Chrissy was how many seconds ahead of him? About probably, I don't know, about 50 seconds ahead of him possibly, and he gets behind him. Only a lap older tires, but still had the pace advantage all race, was battling for a podium, and he's right now still struggling to get by that Mercedes. So it just shows how important it is to get a decent grid position for the beginning of the race, and to stay there is even more important.
Both cars flying through the carousel now. For Chrissy, we'll go back on board with him to see if he's able to make up anything through the kink. I'm sure he's going to probably maybe take the corner a little bit easier for the rest of the race.
I don't think he's going to gain anything in the kink. He's just going to lose time in the kink the rest of the race just to make sure he doesn't do a pirouette in the air again.
Morgan Burkhardt, it looks like he was the only taker to pit lane last time by, so it's a slow trickle of drivers down onto pit road with 13 laps to go.
I'm surprised Bruce stayed out, and Lauzon, they're right next to each other as well, as these two still battle for that 9th position. Could be a higher up position later in this race because we still got many drivers yet to pit. That Mercedes is giving it all she's got to stay in front of that machine of Chrissy's.
Yeah, Roman's definitely pushing and trying to keep Chrissy behind. He knows it's a faster driver in behind him, but that's one more spot he can try to take if he can successfully keep this McLaren at bay for a tall order of 13 laps to go. Chrissy swerving a little bit, trying to get him to rethink his decision, trying to make him second guess himself, make a mistake, heading down to turn 1.
Gotta be careful. He already made a mistake once. Chrissy did. He easily make one again using those moves, but we'll see what type of run he gets down this long straightaway. Gets the back end way out of shape, and he'll lose any run he would have gotten.
Yeah, both those guys are a little bit out of shape, but Chrissy a little bit worse off. Definitely a close fight within a few tenths of a second separating both cars. And down into turn 5, same order as they went.
It's like, once again, how much clean air matters. Chrissy trying everything he can. He hasn't looked out for a pass just yet, other than to swerve the Mercedes way out of shape. And he'll have to give way. Just got way too loose. Turn 6, once again, the trouble corner today without a doubt.
Yeah, honestly, turn 6 I consider to be one of the most difficult corners on this track, just to how difficult it is to navigate, especially when you have the tires all slicked up, and if you've been pushing them too hard, you're going to go wide, you're going to slide pretty much exactly like this. Look at the handiwork from Elias Roman trying to keep that car straight. Will lose position, but the car is still in one piece.
Yeah, whenever we do these races at road course, it's always the corners we don't expect as he almost goes off track again. It's turn 6 here. I think it was turn 8 at Montreal in that Grand National race. In the ARCA cars, we saw people going off. Just weird corners we always see people struggling in. Turn 6, definitely not the easiest of corners, but definitely not one you'd expect.
There's an idea of where DJ Alessandrini is in comparison to those other battles, about half a lap ahead. With Ken O'Seal 3.5 seconds behind, and another 3 seconds back is Thomas Layton, your top 3.
Still, a lot of the people who haven't pit yet haven't even considered it. I would assume in the next 3 laps or so, we'd have to see people come in. Not sure how far the fuel can go, but we'll have to assume that at some point these drivers have no choice but to come in for a splash of fuel or something.
You see Cal Hurst working his way past Crandall, who's sitting back in 14th, just trying to continue his race onwards, just not bring the car back in one piece, starting 15th up into 14th so far, is 2 laps down.
Just making laps, and that's what's important for him at this point in the race when you're not really battling for any positions. Just make all the laps that you possibly can, keep the car in one piece, and you should be in line for a finish you'd probably be happy with. And I'm actually surprised with how well Herbst has done. He's pretty much in no man's land, but it's not a bad thing when you're in 4th all on your own. He's done a really good job separating himself from a lot of the drivers today.
Yeah, he really much is in no man's land. He's got 13 seconds to the guy ahead and 16 seconds to the guy behind. So as far as you can probably get away from someone on this track when you got a decent field of cars. And Roman's still not giving up on this battle. Has been able to get a decent tow off of Chrissy. So I think as long as he doesn't make a mistake, you saw him get. You can hear it in the engine too. Got a little bit sliding in turn 6. So if he can keep the car planted, I think he can still rebound and try to get back on Chrissy. Both of these guys bearing down on Morgan Burkhart, who's just up the road right there. And there you can see, it's a little bit hard to see, but right there is the gap to Chrissy and Roman. Catching him at about, I want to say a second or two a lap. Now finally down at the pit lane, DJ Alessandrini in his box getting service. So is Kyle Herbst and Peter Lausen. So Ken O'Seal will take the lead of the race for the first time today.
We'll see how much longer he can go. I can't imagine if Alessandrini's pitting now. I can't imagine he can go much longer as we'll see Leighton didn't pit, so if he's really only competing with Leighton for that second position, he doesn't have to really do too much strategy to stay up in front of him.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if there's really much strategy for these guys, especially near the front. I think it's really just a matter of not making a mistake. Down on pit lane for DJ, in and out in 17 seconds. He's good to go to the end.
Definitely a quick stop there. I wouldn't be surprised if he only took really fuel, as that's all you really need to get to the end. Really no risk of any tire blowouts in these GT3 cars. Actually none at all, as Lausen is going to come out of his pit stall. I believe Roman and Chrissy went by him, as a few other drivers did as well, as he'll try to rebound on fresher tires and get back up into that fight.
Yeah, he's actually trying to now, he's going to be battling with Murphy Nichols. You can see just coming to the shot down the front straightaway into turn 1 for him. Up ahead there is where Chrissy and Roman are, just coming out of turn 3. There's Burkhart getting closer and closer. Last time by, Burkhart ran a 211 flat, compared to Chrissy running a 208.3. These guys are flying towards him.
I wonder if he made a mistake somewhere, because Burkhart was making a really good charge through the field, but it just hasn't had the pace. Could have warmed up the tires too much as well, as he's really getting closed in on as the leader. The new leader, Ken Howes, was finally going to come in the pit lane, as Leighton does as well.
Yep, Leighton down in as well. For Francois Brou, I expect he's the last car that's yet to come down pit lane. I could expect to see him make the turn off. And
there he goes.
So he will complete the cycle for Ken O'Seal. Really not much you can do. Maybe take less gas, although you got to be careful. It's a dangerous game to play with fuel mileage.
There's not much you can do. If he took too little gas, he just throws this complete race away. So here comes DJ Alessandrini coming by the pit exit, as it looks like he will easily get off the pit road first. That's not Housel. Housel's just exiting his pit, as it's going to be not a bad sequence for Housel. I don't think he really lost too much time. and we'll see if he can get him back with fresher tires, but Alessandrini's clearing away with the lead.
They actually lost between looking at the pit lane deltas between both these guys. It was 48.8 for Alessandrini, 49.4 for Hausiel. So lost about 0.6 of a second for Hausiel down on pit lane, which is not exactly what he needed.
See where Brew comes out, because he'll probably be in a battle for 6th or so, as that will be a more important battle for him, as I think that's Burkhardt. I don't know. I assume Burkhardt's come into pit road, as Brew's going to try to get out of his pit as quick as possible, as the battle for 7th, or I believe that's... No, it is 7th. It's really raging on now.
There you mentioned that battle being kind of close. Brew kind of come out just alongside Burkhardt. He's going to work around Burkhardt. I believe he should be good to the end. He came in 3 laps ago. So he's all set. So 5th and 6th in a little bit of battle, with 7th and 8th closing down on him. So this final battle for the final top 5 spot is looking to be getting pretty spicy as Roman gets past Chrissy. So this is heating up here in the final 10 laps.
And Burkhardt hasn't had the pace the last few laps, so if he keeps that slow pace up, Brew will either get by him or get held up as well. And if they all get held up, that will bring Roman and Chrissy right back into the battle.
Working their way on through turn number 5. Burkhardt, Brew, Roman, Chrissy, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Take a look back at your leaders real quick. So here's Alessandrini working through Canada corner. There's the gap back to Hausiel, a little bit more or less the same as it was when they came in with Leighton as well. Leighton actually took significantly less fuel. He was a second quicker in his box, so was able to make up some time, but it still wasn't enough to catch back up to the 2 up ahead.
You better hope he can make it on fuel. If you're going to take less fuel like that, you got to make sure you're good to the end, or else you're going to be really struggling to either save fuel to the end, or you won't save fuel, to the end, and you might risk running out on the final lap and won't be able to get around.
Yeah, here's Kyle Harris running all the way back in 4th. He's 23 seconds back from the top 3, so he's got a long way forward to try to get to them. I think at this point it's a matter of managing his race and not making a mistake. They're probably going to rate mostly on this battle. This is one of the closest battles on track for the most part through the field. These 2 battles right here, as Chrissy was able to get his way back on past Roman. These 2 guys been swapping back and forth.
Whoa, he's really still driving it hard, as you can see. All of these drivers getting the rear end kicked out as Brew pulls out for a pass on Burkhardt for that 5th position.
Running off the back of Jack Chrissy here, trying to hold off Elias Roman. He's been constantly battling him throughout this race. Roman going to get a nice toe up to the back end of Chrissy, but decides not to make a move. I think he's looking at the bigger picture. They can gain 2 more spots, and they just work together for a little bit. When they get to Burkhardt and Francois Brew, he's been having a fantastic race so far. Started back in 9th up into 5th. I actually still thought he started a little bit further back than that, but Brew doing pretty well inside the top 5. It's a matter of can he hold on to this with a bunch of chargers in behind him.
He actually just got by Burkhardt for that 5th position, so he might be able to pull away, but Burkhardt's going to try a big send into turn number 5. So is the Mercedes of Roman going to do the same thing. The pass is made. Both those guys make the pass, but the over-under by Chrissy trying to make it work up into the uphill section in turn 6.
Yeah, and as they go into turn 6, Brew realizes he's going to be off, Roman realizes he's going to be off kilter. He's going to put back it in behind Chrissy back into 7th place. And essentially now it's going to be a 4-way fight as Chrissy makes up some time towards Brew and Burkhardt. It's on between these 4 drivers.
It's definitely on. That was a big move by Burkhardt to get that spot back. That was the pass of the race, possibly. That was a big send. I didn't think he was anywhere close, but he was able to make it work, and he didn't even get any threat. He didn't get threatened at all by the over-under, because I don't think Brew was even expecting that move in turn 5. But look how much of a gap he's put on that 69 machine. He's trying to pull back away.
Yeah, Brew typically not too terribly aggressive of a driver, so yeah, I can definitely see him being caught out by a pass like that. Definitely caught us off guard, so he's still got a chance to get back at Burkhardt. We'll see if this Lamborghini can stay up in front. We've seen the leader of a pack typically be a sitting duck, and I don't think Burkhardt's going to be an exception from that.
Definitely a 4-car battle to the end. Every single driver has wake.
Whoa,
oh, Burkhardt!
no!
Oh, and he's going to get hit hard. They're both into the wall hard as Brew flips over as those 2 crash out hard.
And a big crash out of into the penultimate corner between both these guys, taking out 2 very competitive cars. This is Burkhardt and Brew. Burkhardt in front. Again, we saw this earlier, just running a little bit too wide. The car's actually already stepping up before he even got to the curbing.
Yeah, he was really driving it hard. He was driving the tires to their absolute limit. As he comes out of Canada corner, he actually got a bit wide through Canada corner, so the tires probably already have a bit of trash and a bit of dirt on them. So he tries to get the best arc possible, got on the curb there, missed the curb there, and maybe not too much grip, gets in the grass, and is trying to save it, and Brew had nowhere to go. And he goes up and over, gets the worst of it.
Yeah, all happening within fractions of a second. Brew down on pit lane, trying to limp that car to at least get it somewhat repaired. And going to end a very good run for the 69 as he's going to be back in ninth, probably even further back as more guys trying to get their cars repaired.
Nichols got in it as well. Did he get involved in it as well? He was behind this all, actually. He must have wrecked on his own.
I think he definitely wrecked his own. Oh, yeah. I think he was a victim of the kink.
We talked about turn 6, but it's been every corner. Every corner has been mayhem today. You could easier to count the corners that haven't caused mayhem. As here he comes through the kink, gets on the curb, and just way too wide. Does the same thing the 6 machine did.
Almost saved it.
Oh, we don't even get to see the hit. That's just not cool.
Unfortunately, iRacing blinked out. It still doesn't mean you avoid hitting the wall, though. So Nichols going to take a hit. Have to fix that car back out. We'll see if he gets it back out on track. DJ LCG still your leader, expanding out over 4 seconds. Biggest gap so far in this race for him. Taking a look back at this battle for 5th. These two guys, I'm not sure they're going to be sick at each other or happy with each other by the end of this.
I think they're happy that they're not battling for 7th now. They're battling for 5th instead. I bet they're both happy that they avoided that because it was right in front of them. They could have easily been involved in something as these two are going to battle very hard to the end. As not too significant of a battle, but Robbins got the 8th after Brew had his incident. We'll see if he can hold him off. That would be for 8th, I believe.
Yeah, people are talking about an F1 McLaren. No!
Wow. Oh, a big spin. Another mistake by Chrissy. He's going to try to get it back going before Lousing comes around. He just got the back end. Another corner you don't expect that in.
I'm trying to see where he really... I think just under braking just threw it in way too hard into the corner here.
Yeah. He went... What he probably tried to do is whip it right, because you saw how far on the track to the left he was, and he was trying to whip it right to still make the apex, and he just whipped it too hard and just spun himself out. Lucky did not hit anything this time.
This is the big problem with mid-engine cars. You have to respect them. Can't throw the car too hard into the corner, otherwise the back end will swing exactly like we saw with Christie. So Christie now back into 7th place. There's Peter Lausen. So they're going to hear it 6 at the moment. You're going to try to have to hold off Jack Christie for another few laps to keep that spot. But Christie, I guess the biggest problem for him has been the mistakes so far.
Yeah, his biggest competitor has been himself today, no doubt about it. He's been trying to battle himself, keep his car on track all race long, and now, even though he spun, he still has another battle on his hands. Got to try to salvage whatever he can. He's going to go for a big dive into turn number 5 on Lausen. Going to set it hard. Lausen's going to try an over-under. Christie's going to get the move done, though. No contest from Lausen.
Yeah, 6 car going to waste no time trying to get back forward. I don't think he's going to have any time to catch Elias Roman, but will definitely take the 6th spot away. And I guess for a moment he could breathe a sigh of relief. Now just kind of kick back and relax the last few laps.
We'll see if he's able to relax. I don't know if the 6 is going to be able to relax because he's got a lot of heat in the tires now, and he's probably got a lot of heated in the mind right now of how the mistakes he's made. He's taken himself out of multiple battles at this point in this race, so he just has to keep a cool head and just get the car to the end. Not many spots to be gained now.
Exactly, and now he's also got to worry about potentially Peter Lausen, who's in behind. We talked about these guys breaking the draft. Hard thing to do. We really only seen DJ to be the one successful at it, and even Burkhardt on a few occasions, but it's definitely tough to break the car in behind. You see Lausen already closing in down the straightaway.
Big breaking into that corner. I'm not sure if Burkhardt and Nichols have gotten back on track. Doesn't show them on the ticker, but...
No, they have not.
I wonder if they... weren't able to. I don't think either of them used a fast repair unless they accidentally used it on their main stop, which would be a very big mistake. That would be unfortunate because those drivers were in for good finishes.
I think there's the chance for that because I mean, especially if you're not paying attention, you just kind of come on in, and if you ended up getting a little ding here and there, and end up using that fast repair, and then you're kind of in an unfortunate spot after that. So I think that could have been the case, but yeah, both the drivers going to finish 12th and 13th after some really solid runs. Francois Brew, though, looks like he was able to get back on track. He's currently in 9th. I think by his lonesome, no, this is for position. He's fighting with Will Robbins, who also ended up with a big off and back in 8th. So this is a pretty good recovery, all things considered.
It helps to go out early, I assume, because he got into barriers pretty early on in this race, and he's been able to keep it clean since then, and he's up into the 8th position because of other people's misfortune. Really good climb for him to stay in this, and Brew got back behind him a while ago, but that 69 machine, that Ferrari, has not been able to get by Robbins just yet, so he's putting up a good fight.
Looking at one of the closer battles on the track besides the fight between Chrissy and Lausen, and Lausen's been trying to get the toe back up to Chrissy, hasn't been able to make a move as of yet. No change in the top part of the order, though. Your top 3, Alistair Junior, House, Seal, Lane, have been pretty consistent.
Yeah, I really thought Leighton would be able to challenge for that 2nd position, but he has definite pace on his own for 3rd after the 6th machine Chrissy went out, but he just hasn't been able to gain the time needed to get into the wake of Housel. He had a chance there when the top 3 were kind of all converged on each other, but just has not had the pace to close in like he probably wants to.
Working their way down the back straight, Lausen trying to get as much toe as possible and to avoid Chrissy from breaking away to run off in 6th place. Will Robbins also trying to keep Francois Brew in check. As Brew trying to climb his way back forward to 8th. Gotta be probably a little upset of what happened. No fault of his own, just wrong place, wrong time.
And he battled so hard to get through the field that he was battling so hard to just stay where he was. He was making good inroads to get to that top 5 position, but just didn't work out. If he's able to avoid that wreck, he's probably 5th, and he almost loses it in the kink. Had to really collect himself there, but definitely not going to be happy with this. He started 9th, finished 9th, a consistent race, but could have been much better.
And still has a chance to get one more spot if he can get back to Robbins before it's all said and done. I don't know if there's any driver we haven't really talked about too much in this race. I guess really haven't touched a bit here and there on Kyle Herbst. Fairly quiet race for him, I guess, so there's not really too much to say for him. Been running in 4th place, just been setting on decent times and keeping the car clean.
Yeah, really, and we always say it, an uneventful races in a lot of ways could be one of your best races. No one near him, not as challenger for a podium, but no one challenging him. 13 seconds to Roman in 5th, just on his own, just trying to nurse the car home, keep it on track, and have a solid finish.
Dave Fitzgerald, another driver having a notably quiet day. All the way back in 10th place, about 8 seconds back from Francois Brew, his teammate in the sister Ferrari. Started in 13th up into 10th, so nothing too much to say for Dave Fitzgerald. Just that he hoped that he fueled the car enough this time. She's gonna hate me that I brought that up again.
So what was that? What happened there?
Basically, in one race, I'm trying to remember when. I think it was at Daytona. It was when they were doing a driver swap race, and Dave, I think, at least twice during that race, forgot to fill the car up enough.
Oh god, that is pretty terrible.
It might have been 3 times, but I definitely know it was 2 times that he underfueled the car too much and ran out of fuel. So I've been poking at him for most of the time. I haven't been covering this series in a little while. I've been poking fun here and there where I can. So, bringing up, this is a while back. This is like 2 years ago.
He will definitely hate you for that. No doubt about it. I've made that mistake, but usually I don't think I've ever done that in the car. You probably know who Zachary Carr is. I was trying to crew chief him in a race. I think it was Daytona Road. I can't remember if it was Indy cars or what. I think it was Indy cars that. It could have been IMSA, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But whatever happened, he brought the car in for a pit stop, and he went away and tried to stay in the lead. He was battling for the lead at one point, and he got out right in front of a leader. And then all of a sudden, out of the bus stop, going into oval turn 3, he ran out of fuel right after he came in for the pits. And it occurred that I somehow unchecked his fuel, which was completely unintentional, which really ruined his race. Luckily, Zach wasn't mad at me. I think anyone else would have been mad at me, but Zach was just kind of, I don't know. He was really annoyed without a doubt, but he was trying to not completely lose his you-know-what. It was very, very embarrassing on my part, but I'm at least glad I wasn't in the car to do that to myself. At least I did it to someone else.
Yeah, I had something similar happen, but with crew chief. For those of you who don't know, crew chief, it's a third party too. Like, not only gives you more information, more so than the actual iRacing crew chief, and spotter, but also has a way of it automatically does your fueling for you if you set it the way if you configure it properly. Problem is, I had a league race, came into the pits as I normally do. It automatically told me it automatically puts in the amount of fuel, so I don't even check what it tells me. I just let it fuel how much it needs to. I come back out and I see that it only fueled me 1 lap of gas when I needed half the race left of fuel. So luckily that gave me enough gas to make it 1 trip around and come back in to properly fill it. And the second time I came in and filled it properly. For the first time it assumed that I only needed 1 lap of fuel. So it had a very big glitch in the system. It was the first out of the hundreds of the 100 or so races I've done with it. This is the first mistake it's done. So minor issue, but was in the middle of a championship battle, so it was not quite ideal.
Yeah, definitely not ideal. I'm trying to look back through the running order. Robbins is 10th, and Brew and Fitzgerald are in front of him. I think Robbins, what was he? He was 8th, so I wonder if he had to come, if he wrecked again, or maybe he came in for another stop, because I believe his first stop was pretty early.
Yes, he actually is, as you mentioned, he just actually has come in for a stop.
I think he didn't have fuel.
Yeah, he just came in this time by, so this is his outlap. So yeah, so unfortunately, it was just shy on the fuel margin for him.
Didn't really lose too much. Sorry about that. He didn't lose too much. He's still gonna get 10th. He's the only car a lap down. Only 11 cars left running.
Whoa!
We almost had 10 cars left running, just like that. That could have been very treacherous. Alessandrini not giving up at all. Too much on the curb. That is very risky.
Yeah, I want to see if we can get a view of this, because this was a very close.
Almost ended the race.
Yeah, and so you actually see here, you already see him straightening the car out as he was going right. He was loose on the entry, and then wild trip through the grass. Made it look pretty easy. I'm sure he's a little bit terrified there for a second, but as he comes up and over the hill, you see the white flag this time by for DJ Alessandrini. 1 more lap to go.
It's going to be a very, very big win for him, and someone's flashing the lights as Housel. That's Leighton flashing the lights at him. He's gotten pretty close to Housel, actually. I don't think he'll have a look for the 2nd position, but he's definitely caught up a lot. Housel's really fallen off the pace. Those two might maybe have a bit of a spat at the very end of this race, but Leighton definitely trying to turn on the burners to try to get 1 more spot.
Yeah, he actually gained an entire second back on Ken O'Seal last lap alone. If he can do the exact same thing again, he will be just about tied with him at the line. So I think that's why he's flashing, trying to get in his head just a little bit here, saying, hey buddy, I'm still here, I'm still fighting.
I can't imagine Housel's happy about it, but there's nothing he can do. He just has to drive the best he can and make sure he keeps them behind. If he just does some good defending, I don't think Leighton will have any sort of look for that position, but mistakes are easy to make.
Yeah, I mean, really, you're running out of opportunities now. You essentially got the back straightaway and then the run up the hill. But for that, you pretty much have to be alongside in a really good run out of the final corner. But the gap now for Leighton down to 0.6 of a second here.
Flashes lights again, goes hard into that corner there before the carousel. Meanwhile, these two battle for the 2nd position. That's all it's really been ever since about the 10th lap of this race. It's only been a battle for 2nd because DJ Alessandrini has absolutely dominated this one.
Absolutely here. Timer 10 seconds left on the clock. Should be white flag. I'm not sure unless it's going to magically add another lap. iRacing doing iRacing things.
It is weird because the ticker does say 2 to go, but also has the white light, so it could do anything at this point.
I was the one that actually activated the white light. I assumed it was going to be the white flag, and there it finally is going to set final lap for DJ Alessandrini, working his way through the final series of corners. Not too surprising of a run. Dominant fashion, has led every single lap, I think, except for the ones where he was on a different pit sequence than Housel. But other than that, it was a dominant performance for the AlphaTauri Audi R8. The number 61 DJ Alessandrini will come flying over the hill, and he will collect the checkered flag first. DJ Alessandrini, the winner here at Road America.
Housel go off? I think Housel went off. He did.
No way. And Thomas Leighton, surprisingly, is going to come home in 2nd place as Housel. There you see him in the background, now going to come over the hill for 3rd.
Where did that happen? Where did that happen on track? He didn't fall too far back. No damage to the car. He must have just went off somewhere. That was in Canada corner.
Canada corner right here. Came flying on through. Didn't need to make a mistake. Unfortunately, just got a little bit too late on the brakes. Back they went around. Leighton going to start on through for 2nd.
That is a huge mistake. He really wasn't under pressure. No one really close to him, but he made the mistake. Leighton pressured him just enough with the flashing lights. It was definitely the flashing lights that did it. But that's a big mistake. He had a perfect race until then.
We'll take a look at your race results here. DJ Alessandrini taking on the win. Thomas Leighton in third with Cano Seal rounding out your top three. Kyle Herbst fourth. Elias Roman going to take a solid 5th place finish. Jack Chrissy, unfortunate for him, big mistakes put him all the way back in 6th after what could have been a top three finish for the number 6 McLaren. Peter Lowes going to finish in 7th with Francois Brew with 8, Fitzgerald in 9th, and Will Robbins in 10th.
Yeah, I believe the last 3 drivers on the lead lap are still finishing. And then the guys, Adam Crandall, I believe, is the last finisher. Crandall finishes 11th. Morgan Burkhardt, taken out in that accident in the penultimate corner. He's 12th. Murphy Nichols, 13th. Darren Heath, 7 laps down, 14th. And 15th place, I believe, was the 96 car who crashed out somewhat early. It was very exciting. Road America for GT3 cars always provides, no doubt about it. A lot of tough corners. We saw a mistake in almost every single corner by a lot of drivers. Even Alessandrini at the very end of that race was driving on edge and almost making mistakes. So definitely a tough track, definitely a fun track for passing, and it was very exciting seeing everyone going up and down the field. The field really shuffled other than Alessandrini, who absolutely dominated.